Okay, Jack, John's telling me that you're interested in maybe talking about reloading and coming over one day. You can definitely come over one day, I don't care. First thing, get yourself a nice cup hot coffee. I would say a beer, but it is 8 in the morning. First thing I'm going to do is my primers. I need to get my primers out of my box and into my tray here, and they call this a primer flip tray. You'll see what I'm saying here. One side's textured and the other side's smooth. And you're going to put that together here in a second. You'll see exactly what I'm going to mean here. A lot of times you get lucky and your primers come all one way. As you see here, they didn't. They're all messed up. Some of them are up, some of them are down. So this is where this flip tray comes in handy. You flip this over. Now all your primers are going to be in there, but they're not all the right way. So what you do is you sit here and shake it until they all flip over. So just hang tight and I'll flip them over and get right back to you. Okay, I got them all flipped over, and you can see now that basically the bottom, we'll call this the open side of the primer, we'll put it that way, is facing up. Well, that's not going to do us no good, because now I got to load them into a tube to put them into my machine. So you take your lid, you put it on there, and that's why it's called a flip tray, and we're going to flip them over. Once we flip them over, all the primers are going to be facing the correct way, and then I'm going to get my pickup tube and I'm going to start picking up my primers. This is probably the longest, most boring part of doing this, is you got your tube. Now I do use a Dillon 550 machine. I'll show you that here in a second. And this is how you pick up your primers. They're going to get stuck down in there. I'm going to pick them up, plunger them basically. So I'm going to do all 100 of them. I'm going to need a 1, 2, and I'm going to be here a second. So I'll get back to you when I'm done. But you get the point here. I'm picking the primers back end up. And you'll understand that here in a second when I show you how I put them in the machine. Okay, right back. Now I'm almost done. Now remember, this is, well, I didn't tell you, but anyway, this is large pistol primer. And normally I don't use these primers, but since the ammo crunch hit, this is all I could find. This was a couple months ago. Cellar and Bellet, or S&B, whatever you want to call them. I've never used their primers before. I loaded some the other day. Now if I was loading small pistol primer, I would use the small pistol primer tube. There is a difference. They color code them in Dillon. The green one is large pistol primer. Alright, so I got all 100 of them loaded in my tube right now. Now bear with me here, it might get a little shaky. Now I'm going to walk over to my machine here, which is the Dillon 550 here. See if I can zoom out. Well, can't really zoom out. But anyway, what I'm going to do is, this is where the primers get loaded, down in this tube. And then they'll go down in the machine. I'll show you all that here in a second. This blue thing on top is the alarm when you get low, and then this is what keeps the pressure down on the primers to keep them going down in there. When they get low, you'll hear an alarm. So you can hear that. Now I'm going to have to set down the camera here. I'll try to keep this where you can see everything. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the primers down in there now. So what you're going to have to do is, on the opposite end of your primer, you pull your pin. So what you do is you want to put it on top. Now the primers are going to be going back the opposite way. Now you understand why you have to pick them up a certain way. So now the primers are going to go in. As soon as I pull the pin here, all 100 primers are going to fall down through there. And there they went. What I usually do for safety is I take my rod and I just make sure every one got in there. As you see, I don't know if you heard that, one of them was still caught in the green section, so all I did was just poked it down in there the rest of the way. Then you lay down your lever, then you put your rod in, and now you can see, and of course the rod's way up there now, so it's got 100 primers in my tube right now ready for me to go. So basically at this point I'm just going to put my rod up and I'm going to go to the next step, sorting. Okay, now this is just the way I do it. You can do it any way you want. We are going to be loading 45. So this is a 230 grain round nose. They are berry bullets. These are plated bullets. They're round nose plated. I mean, if you want to know, they're .452, but almost all of them are. What plated means, it's not full metal jacket. This is a lead core double struck, and it goes through a cyanide electrolysis bath, and the copper adheres to it. You see there's no lead base. you load these mid-range like you would load lead. We'll have to get into the books about that to understand what all that means. But anyway, getting back to it. Primers come in a box of 100. You seen that when I did it. There's 100 primers in a box. I'm not no safety Sally or anything, but I think safety is important. So I do everything in a batch of 100. So that way, when I'm done, I have 100 primers, I'm going to have 100 bullets, and I'm going to have 100 pieces of brass in my tray. If something's not right, I'm going to know, because everything needs to match up when I'm going. If I'm out of primers and I got 5 bullets left and 5 pieces of brass, I know something's wrong in the primer tray or the primer tube, and I need to investigate it. It's just something I do. It's not a bad practice in my opinion. Or if I have 2 pieces of brass left and I'm out of bullets and I'm out of primers, well, you know, something either went wrong or my dumb ass didn't count right. But anyway, it gives me something to investigate, so I can go back through and count the finished bullets, and then I'll find out I was a dumbass, or I find out, no, I'm only at 98, what's going on here, and then I'll figure it out from there. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to load, or I'm going to put, you know, 100 bullets in my little box here. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, so that's what 100 bullets look like, just the bullets themselves. Big old stack of, big heavy stack of 230 grain bullets. Actually looks pretty cool. Alright, so I got my bullets, got 100 of them. Now, I already pre-cleaned and I sort all my brass. I keep all my brass, you know, labeled. This is 45 ACP, so what I'm going to do now is the exact same thing I did with the bullets. I'm going to take, you know, 100 pieces of brass and I'm going to put them in this tray over here. So that way everything's in 100. Okay, at this point I got my 100 pieces of brass in here. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flatten them all down. And you'll see why I do this here in a second. Alright, so I flatten all this down. Now I need to grab some lube. When you run a pistol brass, you don't have to lube them. You should. It's just my opinion. Trade that out with a brass instead of nickel plated. But anyway, what I use is it's Hornady one shot case lube. It's a dry lube. I have a wet lube for rifle rounds, but I don't use it on pistol rounds. And I do use a carbide dye. So I really don't have to lube. It's just, for one, it makes it easier, and it's gonna make my stuff last longer, and this stuff's cheap. You just spray it on. That's why I turned them all sideways. So I'm gonna spray them on. It's almost like spraying Pam. Basically is what it is, really. Well, it's not Pam, but anyway. And then I just kind of give them a little jingle so they rotate, if they rotated a little. And then I just spray them again. And then I'm just going to let that evaporate a little bit, and it'll be a dry film on there. And then we'll go to the next step. Basically now I'm just going to get set up around the machine how I like to be set up. Everybody's going to be different. You can do it any way you want. I like to put my bullets here where my left hand's going to be. You'll see why here in a second. And then I put my brass over here where my right hand's going to be. And then of course I have, sorry about reaching across there. Then I got my bin that my brass is going to fall in. So this is going to be the back view. This is like where I'm sitting, and this is where the reloaded cartridges are going to fall into. Now just to go over this little bit on the deal here, this is where the spent primers, the old primers, are going to fall through. Every time I pull this handle and I rotate, something different is going to happen. This is called a progressive press. Up here I got 4 dies. I know the light sucks in here. It's about ready to rain outside, or it looks like it halfway is. Great Saturday morning here. This is the first station. This is going to decap, so basically it's going to deprime the brass, and it's also going to resize it in one motion. As I pull down, it's going to go up in that die. There's a spring and a pin in there, and it's going to pop the primer out. Then I'm going to rotate the bottom shelf, and then the next section is going to be where my powder is. Now I've already got this all preloaded, ready to go. That's something I'll have to show you in person. They take too long on film. There's my powder. Now one thing I also do safety wise is I only keep 1 can of powder on my reloading table at a time. Right now I'm using Unique. That way there cannot be any mixture. you mix something, you're gonna blow yourself up. I know for a fact Unique's in here. For one, I know what it looks like, and two, that's the powder that's on the table. So 2 months from now, if I come back, I still know this is Unique because I haven't changed anything. This is where the powder is going to get loaded into the case, but at the same time, I'm going to open that case mouth about 20 thousandths so the bullet sits in it without scuffing the sides of it. And then I'm going to rotate again, and this is the seating station. This is where I'm going to literally take my hand, put the bullet on, and then it's going to come down and seat the bullet to a certain depth that I have. And that's already been, like, you know, you can loosen this nut and do everything here, but once again, that's better to show somebody in person. And then the very last station, when I pull down, it's going to taper crimp. The head, you know, right at the end of the case, it's going to taper crimp. So it's going to taper the brass shut on top of the bullet all the way around. There is another kind of crimp called a roll crimp that you use on, you know, like 357 Magnum or revolver round. So grab a 45 round, grab one of your 44 Magnum rounds that you have, and look at the two different crimps. You'll see what I'm saying. It's best just to see it. Now basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start loading, and I'm going to try to do it without blurring you out here. And I know, once again, I know the lighting's really bad in here, so I'm going to load a couple rounds and I'll kind of explain what's going on as I do it. And I will try to see if I can watch this at the same time. It will be upside down looking, but alright. So here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a piece of brass, and then I slide it into my first slot. And you'll hear what's going on. I'm going to pull down on my lever. The brass goes up into that first die right here. You're going to hear it. Oh, you didn't hear that one. But usually you'll hear it like clink or something. Now as I push down, I'm feeding a primer in the tube over here. And I'll show you that here in a second. So then I'm going to seat my primer. I pushed up. Let me show you, see if I can. Be better if I could show you without something getting in the way, huh? God damn. Alright. We'll do that again. Alright. So as you can see here, I deprimed it. Now, I stopped it so you could see this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this or not. Basically, as I am coming down on the final stroke, the brass is in there. I need to push forward on my handle now. And as I push forward, I just put a new primer in the bottom of that. So if I pull this out now, see, I got a brand new primer in there. So it deprimed it when I pulled all the way down, and then when I come back up, this pulls out, primer drops down, pushes it up under, and then on the upstroke, you'll feel a little resistance, and then it pushes the primer in. Okay, so now let's get back to the next section here. Okay, so once I do that, now I got to start using my left hand. So what I do now, once I went up, I turn this so that piece of brass is in the next station. At the same time, I'm grabbing another piece of brass and I'm putting it in the first station. Now I got two stations loaded. Now I'm ready to use the handle again. Push down. See, you heard it click that time. I come back up, push my new primer in. Now I have another primer. Now I have this one. Let me pull this one out, see if you can see it. You look down in there, I do have powder in there, and if you look close, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on film without me blurring your eyeballs out. The top of that case is just a little bit belled out. Put my pin back in. Now once again, now I'm going to have to do two things with my left hand. I'm going to spin it. I'm going to grab a piece of brass with my right hand, put it in my first slot, but now I'm over here at the bullet section. So without blurring you, I reached into my bullets, grabbed a bullet, now I'm going to lay a bullet on top. Normally I kind of keep my hand there, but I want you to see, so I'm going to try to do it without putting my hands anywhere. Now I got three stations going at the same time. So now I'm going to seat this bullet, put powder in this one, and put a new primer and resize that one. You heard it snap, it knocked that primer out. Come back up. Now in all reality, this bullet's ready to go. The only thing I need to do is I need to crimp it. Right now that wouldn't fit into a chamber because it's got too rough of an edge right there. It needs to be squeezed together a little bit. So put that back together. Now I'm going to do more things. I'm going to spin it again, put a new piece of brass in. Now I got all 4 stations working at the same time. I'm going to decap, resize. I'm going to put powder and bell. I'm going to put a bullet on here, seat it, and then over here I'm going to crimp it. So here we go. I already put the shell here, put a bullet there. Here we go again. Come back up, make sure that it's seated. Now I have a finished bullet. So what I would do at this point would turn this. The new bullet falls into there. I would get ready to do that, and then I'm going to keep going. But now I have a finished bullet. Now it's ready to go. It's taper crimped down. It doesn't have a big edge to it. Now you can measure this with a caliper if you'd like. They got other tools you can measure. When you adjust everything up here, you'll get it to where that's how easy it is to make a bullet. I'll do all 100 of these in probably 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. You'll get a little routine going. See if I can just make a couple. Might jump in front of the camera here a second. You see, I'll just kind of turn, grab, and then I'll just keep going. So I kind of turn. I'm always doing something. And then you'll get yourself into a routine. Or I'm always doing something. You know, by the time I'm down, I'm coming back up. I take my thumb, I'm rotating, I'm grabbing, I put it in, grab a bullet. That's how easy it is. You know, I just made 3 bullets in about 5 seconds, 5-10 seconds. So anyway, that's how easy it is. Let me load all these up and I'll show you the finished product. And definitely come on over and have a beer one day. Okay, I'm just going to show you making a couple here. I'm going to go ahead and listen to Michael Berry because I missed the last hour last night, so not trying to be rude, but gives me something to do. Oh, a little loud there. Alright, here we go. So right now I walked away, so I'm going to double check that everything's ready to go. So I just looked. I got powder. That one's just ready to be filled, and I got a new one. So safety again, just always keep that in mind. So I'm just going to be quiet and load here for a little bit. About the worst thing I could do is put a camera on a table that's moving a little bit, so my bad. But this is how easy this is, Jack. It's pretty easy, dude. And you can do this. This machine here, I can load over 160 calibers on it. So, you know, I know you hunt also. So, you know, your 270, your 243, 30-06, you know, 308, whatever. You can load them all on this machine, plus every pistol caliber, I think. I think you can even do 500. I'm not sure, but everything that you probably have. But there it is, pretty easy, straightforward. Just get yourself in a routine and keep going. Yell at you later.